We're all tied up 1-1. Here is MIBR. Look to bring this one back and take us to Pearl with a 13-11 win over Crew on Lotus. Of course, I'm Golden Boy alongside my esteemed analyst. We have Sean Garrison and Mimi here to break everything down that we just saw. And, you know, Sean, I mean, I think it just goes without saying, like, this game, I don't think anyone can predict what is going to happen here. So what are we doing here?
No, this game was a game that I thought Crew could have stolen, right?
Yeah.
They could have stolen the map, but I don't think they were the better team here on this map, and it showed in the long run. The longer this game went on, the more I favored MIBR. The double controller on Lotus, when I see it play against the single Omen, the single Omen team always struggles to just understand where to rotate, and the A site in particular was just gangbusters for MIBR.
Yeah, and I think that especially kind of manifests on the defensive side for both of these teams, where we saw some of those struggles come on through, right? For Crew in that second half, their retakes were struggling so much to be able to get back into those sites. Despite having this double initiator comp, their opponent did a really fantastic job of being able to take deep space in those post plants, shut them down, and consistently win those rounds to now take us through that third map.
Yeah, and I think that now we kind of find ourselves in a very interesting situation. Good executes across the board on both sides of the field there, Sean. You know, honestly, MIBR, they just played a solid game.
They really did, and I think they did a really good job of dealing with the get-go and adapting throughout the rounds. This was a C hit, actually, that we saw, and you can see the showstopper coming in. A lot of aggression coming towards spawn right here. The bird coming around spawn, and they're taking the fight aggressively. They want util to be used in spawn, not in the site. But then they recede all the way back into long when those player spawn died. They pop Seekers. They pop the Killjoy ultimate as well.
Yeah.
They all use utility. They have nanoswarms on the spike, and the last three secure the round. It shows me that MIBR really understands those fundamentals and understand about stalling out plants and not just shelling up and playing back and not taking fights and playing numbers, you know, it could always bite you in VALORANT.
And I think the willingness to take those kind of deeper fights once they got the plant down was so important. We even saw it in like the last round of the game with Heat making the crazy play to fight forward for two. Because the game plan for Crew, I think, was centered around playing these flood retakes with their double flash comp. They weren't really allowed to do that. However, I think there were still some issues to bring up for MIBR that we were seeing on Ascent kind of rearing their head again, with sometimes overheating things a little bit in these late rounds, letting themselves run out of time. And these were the opportunities where MIBR was getting back into this game, was almost able to push it over the line and win it. So as we continue throughout this series, I'm really looking for MIBR to clean up some of these moments where it feels like they're making decisions very much at the last second when they haven't done a perfect job of clearing out, say, the Killjoy utility and are walking into these heavier sites and dying to those fast retakes.
They are so close, though. There was that one round where he waited for that B util to go down. He waited for the Killjoy to rotate. You saw the alarm bot go down, but he didn't even calculate the whole turret to his right, and he still gets two on the flank. It doesn't even matter. You know, they still win the round. So there's stuff like that I think MIBR, they just do it so well, right? The timings and getting openings for Heat in these late rounds. But we have yet to see them on where we're heading.
Yeah, this is very true. I mean, we are going to be going to Pro first, but before we do that, though, we do want to talk about one of the players who was probably one of actually was the top performer in the server, JZZ. I mean, this guy, Mimi, was just on fire, and I'm glad we finally get an opportunity to chat about him.
I mean, he had such an incredible game on the Sky, and when you're playing this double controller composition, on any map, really, the Sky role is so incredibly important because you're the person who's kind of the sole piece of initiation besides that Omen paranoia, having to fight through the smokes, having to push base to your team, all while also having to set up your raise in Heat for success. He was doing that wonderfully, but he was also doing fantastic individually to be able to be that guy trading Heat out, and in these late rounds, the one to make those plays that push these close rounds over the line for MIBR.
Yeah, it definitely helps having a Sky at the top of your scoreboard on a map like Lotus, 3 sites, Seekers coming out left and right with
felt like we're seeing Seekers every other round.
Yeah, exactly. And he did such a good job of getting value out of the guiding lights, finding information on long A. I think he did such a good job. What did he end up with, like 28 kills?
Yeah, it was something incredible like that. I also think MIBR as well did a better job of adapting in this map than they did in map number 1 of Ascent. Even when those issues did rear ahead, off of most of their timeouts when they got Bazooka in the conversation, they were consistently coming up with new ideas, changing things up a little bit, and finding that adaptation that we were really searching for in map number 1.
Yeah, well, now let's go ahead and put a pin on that one and focus on what is to come. Map 3, we're heading over to Pearl as a decider here between Crew and MIBR. For Crew, it's an opportunity to rectify a wrong from last week and, continue their streak of defeating Brazilian teams. And from MIBR, it's a great opportunity to really see what this team is made of and pull themselves, from a rut that they found themselves in Ascent, Mimi. Now here we are in Pearl, and this truly is, and I say this understanding that it's the most generic term in the world, but it really is anyone's game here.
It absolutely is. And that's because, you were mentioning it, Sean. Neither team is yet to show this map, which is crazy that we get it floated to the third. Both these teams have been floating it in previous series, so I think both of them have a composition, an idea that they've been wanting to show, and this is the opportunity.
Spoiler.
I already see a spoiler on my screen.
We'll go ahead and act like we're surprised later on. We'll just go ahead and do that. Anywho, though, as we get ready for this one, yeah, Sean, I'm curious to get your take on this, right? Like what? Because I think MIBR, you're right, showed us a lot of great fundamentals, showed us, yes, they when they execute, they can execute very well. But I feel like we could say the same thing for Crew, especially off of Ascent. So it's just hard to kind of gauge where this match is going to go.
It really is difficult. And I think what it's going to come down to on a map like Pearl is which duelist is going to shine here. Is Kesnick going to have a great game, or is he? And I think whoever has the most first bloods with their operator, probably on the defensive half, can open things up for their team, especially against this Harbor comp.
Yeah.
That team will succeed.
Well, let's see what happens with the agent select. There goes Harbor. We saw it earlier, so it gets locked in there.
For long.
Yeah, exactly. And then for JZZ, he's right back on the Sky. Like to see it. Played well in that last game.
Doesn't really show us anything yet with the Sky pick. Maybe we do get the dueling Harbor Viper compositions. A lot of the South American teams have been loving that comp here on the map of Pearl. It is very meta right now, and I think also to be expected to get that Jet head-to-head is what we can expect here with Heat locking that one in. I imagine we will see the same for Kesnet as well, Sean.
Yeah, I would be pretty bummed if we don't get Kesnet on Jet right here. There's just so many off-lines
we'd be robbed
for him to just take over. His Blade Storm is next level. And there you have it.
You don't have to be mad, Sean.
Yeah, I do not have to be.
You'll be happy lad.
It's a good day.
A smile crosses his face. You love to see it. And there it is. Dueling Harbor Viper compositions. I imagine both these are going to be the Killjoy. We should get a mirror matchup in this one, which is super cool. It's kind of echoes of Ascent, where that one's super standard. This is the new standard here for Pearl, because both these teams are rocking it. A meta is clear in Americas, and it's this comp on Pearl.
All right, who are we going for, team? Who is going to walk away with the win? Let us know in the chat. But also, for you guys on the desk, Sean?
This is so difficult. I think I'm siding MIBR here. I think what I've seen out of Heat this game, gotta go with them.
I'm with you, Sean. I think MIBR probably have this, but it's going to be another close map.
It's going to be a bit of a banger. Well, let's find out which of these teams will score their first VCT Americas win and send it right back over to Vansili and Rivington. Have fun, fellas.
Good luck, Fed, indeed. Thank you so much, Golden Boy. And yes, we are going into uncharted territory here on Pearl, swimming in uncharted waters on Pearl, but it should be a treasure of a map with this mirror comp.
Watching to see how they will use these walls is what I'm about. The Jets will be there as well, but I cannot wait to see what the crisscrosses create, how they intersect, and who gets the most value out of the Sky Flashes. Because once that many walls are up, you're basically just straight up vertical in the air with the Sky Flash to make sure it hits, or it's just going to get caught in this quadrant of walls. Viper and Harbor alike. Crew versus MIBR going to game 3 now. I am so excited for this, fans. We have a great success rate for 3 games here. This is making me excited for this year of Americas. All the games, all the time. Let's see a mid focus to start off here for the side of MIBR with just that A-hold. So we're not really seeing all the orb focus we have from teams playing Phoenix like Cloud9, but it is a B-Link control play.
High Tide just to try to push Melzer back as Crew holds the defense at the beginning of this game. Poison Orb being lined up on both ends on that control of B-Link. Nobody really rotating across. Solo anchor play onto the A site, where Nags could potentially just give it up very soon.
Yeah, with the gamble stack on B, Crew, you're right, might have to just give this one up. Cascade forward, they easily use that direction. Break line of sight.
Nanostorm is going to delay. There's a little corner there towards our right side of the shed, so never really spotted. So that allows the rotate to happen from Crew.
5 spawn. 5 from spawn. Pile in.
First blood for Kesnet, make that even a second one.
Kez?
Players are still dropping right now as Kesnet indeed was closing in. And Marie's trying to get a timing off the backstab. Here's the footsteps of the 3 players thunderfooting towards this A site. The timing that he has still matches pull out his weapon. A cove coming out, a tap onto the spike.
Oh, they're bumping.
Except first he has to run in, being watched in by Crew. Now the last one as they spot it was trying to get that timing on the flank is going to get denied by Nagzit. And Crew get the opener into the tiebreaker.
I think we're going to get a lot of cove parties in this one, Van Silly.
And everybody's invited.
And everybody's invited. There's going to be a lot of play around that cove, especially once we get to B. We saw it here used firstly on A and able to break through that defensive line on the backside. Kesnet with 3 big frags, again to a Guardian as we saw him play to before. Hasn't really been focusing the operator, so big buys to come in quickly have been a priority for Crew. It's really heat that we've been seeing on the op. Bulldog as well comes out with these Spectres and the A focus from Mibr. So they're gonna test A again. This time a little differently. Orb grab for sure as they start to move up here, but really just seeing what they can get out of Crew. That push and pull tactics. They still have one lurk by FRZ.
Here.
Crew gamble stack B or A this time, so they'll be ready.
Prioritization of the orb for RGL. Meanwhile, we always had FRZ just holding towards this plaza, trying to hear some footsteps if needed be. But yes, testing the A site was Mibr, but for Crew, look at it instead. Such passive utility being set up here by Nags, playing all the way towards spawn, letting Mibr really flood with their pistols and trying to just catch them into walking into a trap by pushing too far forward and potentially closing in on them.
Need help with that. It would have done quite a bit of damage, but they do trickle in just as those turret shots trickle out. And this might be a pretty big retake play. Again, as you mentioned, delay on that digital molly. And it just pans out for a defensive side of MBR. Mibr. They have not pushed forward, they're pushing backwards. So here comes the harbor wall for space.
No post plant util. No Astra on this map. So this high tide is going to be encumbersome right now for Crew to try to retake on a post plant, or hold on a post plant rather. High tide's also moving out, a flash through the high tide. Okay,
Davies?
but this works for a bit. We've done some damage, and that's going to be expensive for Crew under bonus next.
Interesting on those plays how it seems to get a little scary, but you remember everybody's kind of a sentry on that retake. As soon as you go down, it should be traded, and that's where Kesnet and Davies are to make that play true. 4-1 for Kesnet, so they're going to be going real quick to that Blade Storm when they need it. And they're talking about JZZ on the desk. And we've seen a lot of skies with those high kills coming out here. Leaf, namely, as well, we saw yesterday to mention. It really just allows a lot of solo situational play, right? You get quick flashes, you have a few, you can also clear your areas to make sure you're making the right play and watching the right angles. So it seems like our Sky players here in the Americas really putting up the numbers.
Doing all of that job usually on the attack, using those flashes. Hey, let me just run in and trade with you because I don't have any more utility left to help. And when you're committed on a hit, it's not worth staying back there.
Push up, first time for Crew here. It's been a lot of the playing behind the site, ready for Mibr's take, and this screenplay from Kesnet starts them off right on the side of Crew.
So we praise JZZ, we give him the caster curse. First one to die by Kesnet playing behind the screens. Even a high tide being thrown on the defense. Blade Storm activated also on the defense for Crew. And that forces now Mibr to rethink their strat with a minute left on the clock.
Destroyed.
As this round plays out, it starts to remind me of the Neon Viper comps we would see and people sometimes play on Icebox when it was like first coming out and they try it, but you have 2 walls, 2 layers to take over, right? And if you don't have enough utility to do that, you know, whoever is defending or a post plan or defending the site, they could really make it difficult.
30 seconds left.
No utility needed.
Crew with the time remaining really wanted to try to find that information. 3 players pushing out towards B to fight, and then 1 playing forward position as Nags lands that shot with the Sheriff. No matter what though, Mibr forced to hold back for a bit. as a Reckoning did come out on the attack, and there's that push from Melzer.
Blocking sight.
Tap onto the spike, not sticking it yet. Reed still has 2 snake bites to work with. But there you go, he gets fully diffused. Round comes out for Crew. The players left from IBR just wanted to save their weapons.
Yep. Another defuse coming through. So these spike plants have been going in. You do see MIBR making that distance, but the beginning frags is like, how easy is it to hold the site when you're taking it with 2 people, right? Those numbers almost have to be there. You see weapons getting dropped a little bit, sheriffs for regular buys. And now MIBR is wondering, they haven't been able to execute the mid-round strats like they did. It's only been a few rounds, but still mainly focused on the first site that they're hitting. So we have yet to see any of the fakes or misdirection coming in. Cascade straight up. So we see 2 walls already placed down.
Oh, just spotted RGL, misses a shot and dashes away. Trying to use the mini up with that Guardian on the top of the screens once again. And the 2 rifles that were saved are also trying to initiate at least an entry by spraying through these smokes, and that's one of them in the hands of Heat. Cycle back the fuel for the defenders for Crew. Denies any type of visibility, vision for MIBR to re-hit towards the B site.
Both teams with this idea that the Killjoy should protect that middle of the map. We see actually a rotation off now by Nags around, still keeping everything active, but they're only going to be a part of this. Once the execute happens, they're in to B.
He made it towards the back of the site. Snakebite on the right, doubling up towards the back halls, and Davies, though, shuts down. Wasn't even really alert. At first, he was just trying to find a timing. No late alerts to come through. Flashed in as Heat still holds his ground at the bottom of a spawn. Spike planted for long, but all of MIBR are committed deep into this B site. Kezit somehow still wins the fight with the Guardian. As numbers dwindle, RGL and the rest of MIBR cannot add more past the post plan in the half buy that they've gotten.
Bravo by Crew. I actually thought they were going to be late to the play there because Melzer was in A forever, thinking there would be a flank, thinking the spike might still be A. Crew still able to pick it up, so you see the intentions of how they play these rounds. If they're going to keep Melzer in A the whole time or on another site, that they're not going to try to defend the site right away. They'll defend when everybody gets there and go in with the utility scaling. So Crew, we see the idea, the plan that they have. 4 defuses in a row tells you that it's the retake look right now for them as they kind of allow MIBR space into the site. Mid hasn't been too noisy. It's MIBR space so far. It's if they can get out of that section to make something work now, to set up the strat with this space that they gain. Crew, right out of A, very quick to grab the orb. Close to having Reckoning, but they do have Nags' ultimate here.
Exactly that. Talk about the retake plays from Crew. Lockdown available for another retake. 3 players pushing out towards the orb for Crew at the beginning of this round. Forfeiting that map control. Deciding instead to just anchor back, work together towards Art, re-clear it together too. So once again, still easy, still doable to get part of a map away because of this lockdown. Off angle being set up by FRZ. Nice second kill. But it gets stopped right away by Davies.
We've seen that to be such a strong angle during rounds there. Providing big impact frags. 4v3 on this round, Vansili. And this is what we've been wondering. Can they get the post plant now?
Both of them were walking, so it all comes down to reaction plays. It's Melzer to get that kill. So that 3v3. Reckoning activated on top of that. Nagzed now seeing that it's clear. He's getting pushed from behind.
Oops.
As Heat comes out from the window. Cove still available for Davies as he throws it into the site. Swinging on to the right, but RGL wins that one. Tap then onto that spike. Flash through. But this is looking good for MIBR to put the first score on the board.
Grabbing that first round with quite a bit of patience. We actually saw a little towards B, walk back towards mid. They had to figure out how to kind of take Crew apart before that retake was able to happen. Otherwise, the numbers have just been too much, and the 1v1s weren't going in the favor of MIBR. Just simple things right now. Crew seems to be able to get the fundamentals down in these rounds. Kesnet does go for an op, though. Did not expect that from earlier. So we'll see this defensive op be left on an island at B. MIBR is going to go straight towards this, so it's going to be a quick hit and dash off. Not even active. There it is. Dash activated.
Wasn't afraid from the first flash.
Ooh.
Almost got caught off guard here. Didn't expect players to just run down that ramp behind that cascade.
I suggest you move.
Now Reckoning comes out on the attack because it's forced to fall away. Double! Gets that spray through the smoke for that double kill.
Right there.
Cove Plant coming out from RGL.
Planted.
And he's just on fire into this round.
Wow, they looked like a different team after seeing that operator. They activated immediately to dash forward and close the distance, making it so hard for Kesnet to come back with any kills there. Almost a flawless round here, Vensley. 2 more to go. Melzer and Nags.
Last player standing.
Almost an ace, too.
Looking difficult to get that, though, because
He's looking.
Nags is all the way back towards spawn. He's looking and hunting. Op even not picked up, left behind by Kesnet.
Uh-oh. He's left a breadcrumb. Did they send it?
They're letting him get it. They're letting him get it. Denied there by Nagsen, but Maurice at least was there for that instant trade.
I was almost wondering if they would just send Maurice in like a drone and be like, oh, fine. I'll trade you, I promise. But happened the other way around. Still, yeah, couldn't even get out. That's how quick they closed the gap onto Kesnet. So very fast audible called here from the original strat. And it was actually really neat to see the distance and the sight line for the operator, right? For Kesnet looking up towards the end of B. But when you saw the peak from Heat down on Pillar, it was almost not in that scope of the operator. So really throwing Kesnet off and throwing it for a loop. Round 7, double peak mid. It looks like they're just looking to gain control. Different look from Crew though. They've stayed away from mid up until now.
And it was a double peak with another operator investment for Kesnet. So a very expensive round for Crew. Looking to win this round with the least casualties as possible just to bring that economy back. But on the other side though, for MIBR, it's looking pretty healthy. Lockdown available with 3 other ults. MIBR once again just continuing to cite the same type of conditioning of working towards the pillar into the B site, this time behind utility. No! Ascent gets a double kill! Oh. Big investment that comes in big for Crew. As the lockdown now pushes the attackers away. Focusing back towards mid, Marie's trying to get a timing. Out towards that B link. He slips it through. Slither across towards the spawn. Kesnet launching it with the operator. Meanwhile, though, on the A side, it's a solo hold from
30
Melzer.
seconds left.
High Tide then coming out. Should I say Cascade coming out? The flash fully blending JZZ, but it allows the trade to happen. 20 seconds left on the clock. And as Maurice made it through, gets all 3! Under rotation, a 2 versus 1! And Maurice somehow comes in clutch for MIBR.
That's absurd. Even with one person with utility out, right? It was Klaus throwing
Insane.
a guiding light, but still 2 members needed to be fragged, weapon out. That's incredible from Maurice. This as well, you thought would just be the lockup, but nope. And there was patience there. You saw that area was being watched by the operator just a moment ago. But Maurice plays the time, checks his watch, knows when he needs to make that flank happen. And vamos, MIBR, you can hear it. They are hyped right now after that round, and you have to be. That is an incredible round to take.
You need this call out now for Crew. You need to discuss that. Somebody had to be watching that spawn if Kesnet's going to be rotating out. Always expect some type of lurk. This is a great map here on Pearl to allow these lurks to happen. But again, I think it's all on that timing that Marie's had. We did have somebody holding in this corner of that sky onto that B-Link that just couldn't get the flash for information. And that's Maurice then taking advantage of that opportunity and turning it around here for MIBR on that previous round.
Right, it's such an interesting round to see that MIBR made it to spawn. In the first round, Crew plays defense towards mid, right? They leave Sky there for a moment. They tried to be up in the face of MIBR, but still behind enemy lines they were. 3 ults ready on the side of MIBR. 2, the Blade Storms here. We could get a dueling set, but I doubt it on the Sheriff to marshal by for Crew. They are going to push up towards B, though. Look for a quick frag on somebody who peeks out right away, just to pressure MIBR, make them play a little sweaty this round. So it's extremities for Crew this time.
With the Blade Storm, looking to fight very early. Counter flashes on the attack. Cascade moving forward on the same spot as usual. But a second flash allows Kesnet to move in and get the first blood onto RGL. Pick up the spike too is going to be MIBR. And meeting up with the rest of the team right away.
And we could look till 30 seconds before they get back in here. That's a double guiding light used by MIBR. Unless they get enough frags to make it easy, they won't need a flash to get in, and that looks like it to be the case. They get themselves safely away. It's a lockdown. Already another lockdown to an eco round here in this matchup. They are pressuring each other so much.
Classic to come out to break it. That allows here Melzer to get the kill into this A site. And this is really good here for the eco from Crew. Forcing out 2 ults for MIBR on the post plant.
The growth of that really hurts Crew on the retake. They're forced to be in it for so long here.
Flash close. Just getting space. Re-clearing inch by inch. For the defenders of Crew, and the Blade Storms are still activated. Kesnet still gets one before he gets picked off. No defuse is going to come through. But that's 3 down and 2 ults wasted for MIBR. Something that Crew really wanted to do into that previous round. Make that expensive.
We'll see that money. 4 in a row to 4 in a row. Not what you usually see, but for this game, they have just been going back and forth. And it's almost multiple sites for MIBR, right? So you see Crew on that round, it was a save, but looking to push up, stop it for MIBR at least being that easy to take ground and use all of these walls to keep pushing in. I like that. Crew cannot get and just sit back as much. They realize the retake isn't working after MIBR was able to figure out what was actually going on within these rounds.
Looks like water damage.
Little spill. It's okay. We all do it. We all
Party
do it.
foul.
It only took me like half my lifetime to figure out you should have a cap on your drink on the desk. Many mouse pads, mice, and keyboard. So.
When you're winning the way that you are here for both these teams, you might definitely be able to have these type of celebrations that you know forces these type of cleanups to do. But there's definitely cleanups outside and inside of the server with how both these teams are, you know, you just mentioned it, stringing all these rounds in a row. 4 for each.
Yeah. And some of them swinging, there's plays that shouldn't happen, but you also have to give credit to star power, right? To see what Maurice is doing, to see plays Melzer is making, Heat's making, Kesnet at times, when they are the focus of the play too, right? Whether you're identifying where they are, they're still able to come out on top of having a bunch of util thrown in their face. It's been incredible to see everybody step into the light here for this matchup. Bringing each other to a third map here. Looks like we're all set, ready, whether it's dry or not. That's another thing. We'll just see if it makes it that much slicker.
No change though really from Crew. It's just different positioning from the operator before, always towards screens, letting a few shots, making it difficult for America to move in, but there's not that second piece. Well, actually, now that I'm looking at where Klaus is at, I wonder if at some point they want to try to do that bait and then have another one play towards that pillar. That said though, Crew's starting this round very early. Just trying to shut down towards the arc.
Very interesting growth on that ultimate.
Yeah, it's quite uncommon from the regular or the other type of ults when you're trying to cover both the door on B-Link and to Art from the pit. So you have to now leave Davies just really jiggle peeking all the time towards this B-Link door. Not more utility moving out there because the anchor from Crew, that Killjoy, is inside the A site.
This has to feel weird for FRZ. He can play the angle quick. Molly shot out as there's a little aggression for Kesnet down here towards B long. And actually, they're making Crew react pretty hard here. Cascade towards B Link. It's going to be a rotation off too, but they leave. Murray's there on the play.
With the flash finding information on the B side from the defender, still nobody's rotating from Crew. So we're staying ice cold in both ends. Even that Trailblazer coming out confirms that it's just a lurk. And even with that lurk, Maurice has been doing awesome on this map so far.
Spill some more water on the mouse pad, why don't you? Here we go into the site. Great delay as per usual. Nags, that goes down though.
Yeah. Great delay at least to not allow MIBR to follow behind Heat. But Heat still gets the opener. And that's going to be the last two players. Maybe even trying to move back towards B to salvage that up again. That's where both players are currently moving towards that plaza. Trying to shut down Maurice if you can. Who's already holding an angle. That's 2 4K rounds now.
That is. You took the words out of my mouth. That's absolutely on top right now. 15-4. They're going to be answering Viper ults with Viper ults here. And it's not the short shots. It's not the close angles. It's not the fake outs. It is the true firefights. Just winning the 1v1s right now. That makes you think twice about the angles you're swinging. We said this was going to be things that Heat was doing, and while Heat is doing that, Breeze is trying to top it. That's a scary, scary prospect for the side of Crew. Still, we see the operator being purchased, but not able to do work for Crew. They stay back for a little bit of a martial defense here behind some walls to see if they can tag on to MIBR before they hit the site. Good push out of A here, Vansili. They can focus towards B now. They can get this numbers game up.
RGL can pick up an orb, but Elise gets an orb for his death. Nice shot by Kesnit. Pressure moving up from MIBR. Heat hit by a Trailblazer, and also gets hit by Kesnit. But that calms down for a bit finally until then. MIBR trying to move inside this B side as Davies shuts the site, moving into the site. Reckoning out just to have some players dance around, get that info to allow the double fight to happen.
Yes.
FRZ did not expect the second one to move in. In a blink of an eye, it's a 2 versus 1. Disadvantage for MIBR. And JZZ has to blink some more as he flashes himself.
Quick reload. I think the distance on that, they actually didn't hear it.
This high tide's about to come down. JZZ trying to get the advantage. Oh, there's a gap into this. Now as it comes in, easy kill. Last one definitely knows that it's towards long. And that's Nags with the Guardian. You have to step up big. And JZZ is gonna get the Red Bull clutch.
They can't keep doing this, but they can. A 4K, a 3K, 2 4Ks, right? In the past few rounds, just really flipping the rounds on their head. And that was the eco. It looks so good off the first Marshall shot. This defensive back haul here, a quick scope on that one. And how this was played. So smart. Honestly, there was just so much distance between the opposing, right? You can't get for that trade shot. JZZ plays it so well to actually go to the left side and create the 1v1. He could have been in the middle there. We're already into the next round.
We want to fight back. Kesnit dashed away. Flashes on both ends. Both initiators doing their job. Trying to break the crosshair placement, allowing Kesnit to get the first blood. Heat then moves in. And all of the defenders instantly dying now towards the A site.
I've got your trail.
And even the Seekers are now coming out from GZZ. That's going to spot the last two. Can FRZ hold this corner? Here's a footsteps back towards Art. I mean, we've already gained the space inside this B side, so all of MIBR are rotating back now, allowing FRZ to become the late lurk on the post plant.
Alarm bot out.
Of super good positioning as they start to come through.
Because you have the Viper alive.
Yep.
Poison orb. And also the toxic screen to come up if they want to bring it up here to allow this cross to happen for a plant. It's going to move in for a safe one. Pushed away by a snake bite by Melzer. Running out of bullets.
30 seconds left. Last player standing.
And Heat is there to support. Nagazet. Okay, on to the first one, but there are some heroic plays and some great players feeling themselves here on the start map for MIBR.
Another 3K. They're just saying my turn, my turn. And before we looked at this, it was going back and forth. We had 4 rounds to 4 rounds before we started having these multi-kill rounds happen. It's what we expected. We have the same comps going up against each other with this double controller, working off walls, who's going to be able to frag better kind of situation. And it comes down to the MIBR frags right now, as they have just been on fire these past few. And even to this fight, it could look great for Crew, but there's a difference in armor. It's coming down to the little things once they hit the site here. So we'll pay attention to it all. Cascade up. Utility is now scattered all throughout Art, as it's just going to be a reckoning in, Van Silly.
Heat still dashing through, hit by a snake bite on the ground. Snake bite, and as he has the blade storm,
Right click.
the right click does do some damage onto Naxit. Cove plant then coming in. All of the players of Crew just around the high tide right now, looking to re-clear the space off the trailblazer left behind. And look at this full rotate. 2 players moving all the way back to go towards Art. All of this is driven by Melzer. Melzer now moving forward with the rest. Poison Orb to allow for him to try to get some sort of a plant.
Oh, they gotta hurry.
Waste out the utility early. Flash then coming out, and as they're waiting for this flank, it's just taking forever, so somebody else has to commit for the defuse.
They have
Another
such good
snake bite
comps.
on the ground, but it's halfway. A push down finally onto the Art stairs as RGL and Maurice, all the rest of it by BR, but the defuse, it's coming in. They get it.
No way. You have to be kidding. How many times are we seeing this happen this game, Van Silly? It's absolutely ridiculous. The comms on that were so good. I said they had to hurry, but the team at the A main was saying, no, the defuse isn't on. It is on. They were giving every comm necessary for the flank and Art to work, and it comes down to an all-out firefight through a cloud burst, not even a cove, and it's still the defuse under pressure. The fast fingers to get that. What a play.
Natural things happening, chaotic rounds once again. I'll pass it back to the desk so we can try to digest at least that first half.
Make sure you have some water with that Riv, but also close the top. Anyway, yes, incredible stuff in an awesome game, seriously. Really, you couldn't have asked for a closer contest between these two teams here, especially with how things have panned out, Mimi. This has been really enjoyable to watch and quite chaotic.
I could ask for a slightly closer game, I would say, because that was MIBR winning 7 rounds in a row, and only that kind of last round coming through for the side of Crew by like a miracle defuse. And a big part of those rounds that MIBR was making a streak out of was the multi-kills. This team was pulling off some crazy individual moments, and I think a lot of it started with us seeing some of the good ideas from Crew. They were really good in these retakes. They were trying to put emphasis on pushing these players off the line, but then MIBR was just finding these gaps, and Heat and Mariz were unstoppable in that streak of 7.
Yeah, that duo, and this round, they got MIBR on the board. So crazy, and then Kesnet follows it up with his double, but Mariz pushes.
I can't believe Mariz was all the way out here as well. And then right back around was like, let me go ahead and take care of that too.
So crazy. The individual plays that MIBR pulled out after they were down early in this game were ludicrous. And the only round that Crew ends up stealing is that last one?
Yeah, it is absurd. But here's the thing now. This puts us in a position where either of these teams could easily take it. That last round that Crew managed to scrape by, I think is critical because this is a mirror matchup. And I think some of the things that we were seeing in the first half will continue to be true in the second, in that this is going to be defined by the post ones. With this Harbor Viper comp, you want to be playing into that retake. There's going to be an emphasis on that. I also wonder as well, will there be an emphasis on Heat opping here? We saw Kesnet struggling a little bit with it against this Harbor Viper composition. So honestly, this second half, I have no idea what to think.
I will say Kesnet was very impressive how active he was on the map, particularly at B.
Yeah.
He was fearless taking some of those aggro lines.
You kind of need that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, once he
especially
started
with the
rifling, it was
Harbor.
incredible.
Yeah, especially with the Harbor. Does Heat have that same aggression on defense? Does he get the volume of shots that Kesnet just got that half?
So the question you have is, does Heat have that dog in him?
Does he?
We'll find
think he
out.
might.
Let's send it back over to the casters for our second half.
I definitely do think that he has that dog in him, Mar. We'll see if it's going to be the aggression out for MIBR in D, because there is a way to try to play against that double controller. Yes, for the retakes, but also trying to find that perfect timing between the spacing left out by the double controllers. And they have the perfect utility, the perfect composition for that too, thankfully, because you also have JZZ with the flashes to support. Starts there. Look at the delay right away.
How they mirror each other, right? You almost expect it. Obviously not the wall situation, but you see MIBR's wall all across the entries of B-Link, Art, and A main, just to slow things down if they don't know where Crew is. Wall goes up. They're gonna go ahead and make it by that pretty easily to start off. 3-2 split as the gamble for defense is towards B, but it looks like we will get a quick rotation or lean out of RGL.
JZZ now under attack, but still gets first blood traded out, but now identified that the spike is down towards B. Commitment now.
Wait a minute.
Cloud burst and a dash with a ghost, while he only has the Sheriff. With a couple of shots trying to make it away, but delays enough for RGL to move in and drop the spike himself.
That was feeling really awkward for a second. If that cloud burst went down, it was just like, okay, what's gonna happen? But no, the Cascade follow-up to make sure at the time the cloud burst would go down, they still have cover.
Accent to save. Wow. All the rest of crew holding on the pulse plant. And that's crew to answer back with their own pistol.
That was cheeky. Very nicely done. And yeah, crew absolutely needing this one to start off the second half. Like the Dust said, anybody's game from the way this is going. You can't expect, what, 10, 15 multi-kill rounds to come out, right? So that's the hope in crew playing strong, not even thinking about that situation. Really nice two-take on B. That's all they needed. Crew makes it look easy as they swarm the site after the fact. Vandals, 2 Vandals being purchased up here. This could get tricky as it's a gamble stack towards A too. They lose one of those Vandals and this changes.
That's the flash. 9 HP left onto Klaus. Kezen at 31. Thankfully, a Cascade moves forward, so that's going to split the push. Now making things a lot more difficult for the Vandals to answer back. Yes, one of the Vandals has fallen for the hands of Kezen. Not picked up yet. Travelers are also the stun spraying through. As finally, after all of these reloads, FRZ will be able to pick up that Vandal.
No health though. Crew made sure they just absolutely smattered that with every piece of ammunition that they had. And now the B take to come out. Really no save gonna come out of this. Wait, they chucked it off the map. I love that. Threw the Vandal right off the map, going straight classics into this retake.
Keep it expensive for crew.
Exactly.
Don't allow them to salvage any weapons, and FRZ and RGL at this point can even play even more back if they want to die from the spike.
So quiet, just looking to play off maybe a trade, maybe some of that head armor gone, even though it's light on the side of crew. And see if this patience pays off here. A good round by crew. They are able to come out with another one for themselves and make sure that Mibr has a hard time taking down more than just Kezen.
Even the same discipline for crew. Look how far back Klaus is with only 9 HP. Doesn't want to lose another weapon here. Spike's gonna go off, and even on top of that, RGL manages to get a kill.
7-7. We're now all tied up. They are able to finally bring some rounds through, staving off the thrifties this time. But hey, you still might get something out of this bonus round that crew comes back fighting even harder for. That might be our full Vandals. Maurice is going to be the only one that has to go for util to get that light buy down. Melzer is with a Sheriff though. So this is going to be a little bit difficult. Going to have help on the retake. See if Mibr, see if crew can identify where this would work best. Melzer could actually be working alone here, so fine to have the Sheriff make the lurk happen, possibly grab a weapon.
And with Mibr losing pistol, economy's not really up to bring out the early operator like Kezen was able to do on the defense for crew.
Lineup.
Yeah, the lineup, but unfortunately still a disadvantage. As crew has lost a player early towards the A orb. And also the second player being heavily damaged is the only one that cannot get healed. And that's Klaus down to 26.
Guiding Light, Cascade looking to hit anybody on that first corner. And make sure they set up here to at least switch some guns out and prepare on A. They have enough space. This looks to be the full hit. 50 seconds left, so I don't think they're going too far from this position, rather. It's going to be the 2-2. 2 through Art, 2 through A main.
FRZ pulling back towards Flowers just to make sure that the turret could spawn a potential late lurk. Alarm bot's going to sound the alarm literally for 2 players. Trying to gain control on the attack towards the staircase of Art. playing in front of the high tide as the Cove comes out. Plant attempted to come in for Crew. Looks like Mibr is happy to give that up. Rifles on the advantage. All of Crew playing on outside for the pulse plant. Could get dangerous here.
Oh, that's a big shot.
No util for the pulse plant, and even a reckoning for the pulse plant to delay even more if they can. Tap across to force a little bit of that run forward. And with another high tide coming out in the attack, actually it funnels in the advantage of Mibr. They just focus on a couple of lanes. And now everybody falls from Crew. The fuse then comes out, and it becomes a flawless in the end for Mibr.
Flawless.
I did not see that one coming, honestly. I thought Mibr, our Crew, was going to be able to hunker down at least a few of those members in the site, get a bit of the money off, but that is such a good round bonus for Mibr to not lose anybody and cause that full rebuy for Crew. So a big round. Could be switching this one around. It's up to Crew now to really knock down Mibr. Otherwise, Mibr may find those last few rounds with the aggression they've been putting from this defensive side. You already see them wanting to push Art here. That's going to possibly be a 2v1 scenario that Nags gets right away and is not going to be in his favor. Work up towards B long. 3 mid here for Mibr, so the flank is going to be enormous with whoever they choose to go, but it's going to be a back towards Nags if they do this. Just turns around.
Still the trade comes out. And all the rest, look at the positioning for FRZ with that utility, trying to delay, prevent people from moving towards the back halls. So potentially the rotate could come back towards B-Link, but instead Mibr opted to move everybody towards the spawn for the retake instead.
Yeah, with the push to Art, they put the Viper wall at B, causing Crew to have to move through that. Reckoning comes out, Van Silly, but Mibr wants in.
Melzer staying back. Stopped by Moritz. As the last 3 players of Crew have to play long range, but it's planted for them at least. Still have Klaus alive, but no
Great cascade.
flashes available yet. As now double wall comes up on the defense. Tapping onto the spike, and as this reload comes through, we're gonna get a Cove defuse. Players now peeking out. Nice shots coming out once again.
Maurice?
I think he's gonna try to spill another water
Again?
just to try to cool down at this point, because this guy is just unstoppable.
There's the spam from RGL. Yeah, kind of incredible. Obviously, a lot of people shooting, you have a time to get comfort in there and hit your shots, but just the accuracy that they're coming in, or the rate they're coming in, I'm sorry, with his accuracy has been incredible in that one under pressure. Great retake here. I like the second layer, 2 layers of trying to defuse the spike there. They tapped the spike and everybody backed up to see if there was a push down long for the screens. There's no push down long. Everybody has to reposition, and you have everyone peeking the next time that Cove comes out. So a little 1-2 set play protocol for the retake. Oh, ooh, a little haircut almost.
Mibr finally having enough to bring out the operator onto the defense. Same position as Kesnet, same plays pretty much coming out from Crew. But a shot doesn't land. Crew on an eco. That turret also showing that nobody's pushing aggressively towards the A-orb for the defenders. So an opportunity for somebody, one of these players, to take control of that orb. We want it to be potential. I was gonna say potentially on Klaus, but it's gonna be the Blade Storm instead.
Up and over, following the dog. No peeks coming out just yet. The rotation comes in, and that's gonna be the start from Kesnet.
Nice flash, getting behind the opener onto Moritz. Second flash as he turns away. He's trying to save his teammates. As there's still one alive here inside
3v2.
the dugout. That's RGL. And yeah, the advantage is actually for Crew. RGL trying to get a timing, but saved by Kesset by the church. Heat then with the operator. You're in a great spot! Until that happens, a surprise dash from Kesnet. As it's gonna be the thrifty for Crew to answer back.
I wonder if that step up onto the little ledge there, right, alerts Kesnet just in enough time the spike doesn't go down. So many things there go into the round, but Crew do take it. It got a little sketchy at first. It was the Trailblazer into just Kesnet, but the follow-up utility is what continues to make it safe for the side of Crew. You're usually getting Viper bites back to the dugout in the back, pushing out usually Harbor that's back there for the side of MIBR, and they have a lot of answers for those initial hiding spots where people can tuck themselves into the A site, and it's been a good focus. It doesn't seem like Crew have really been slowed down too much on their site takes, because you always have Kesnet going all the way through, so why not follow him, right?
And with the retake attempts from MIBR, it's not as clean as how Crew has been playing. So a much needed timeout coming out. Do we want to play more aggressive now? If you're giving too much space for Crew, they're definitely going to be able to take that space and overwhelm you to not allow you to go back for these retakes. And especially losing a Thrifty.
Yep.
You gotta focus up. This is your last attempts here. Third map as we're tied up 1-1 between these two teams. One of them to come out victorious would also be their first win for the VCT Americas. Important one for the morale.
Operators there for Heat. Still back onto that purchase finally. A is going to be the strong play here. Rotation out of middle looks like it will come from Maurice here. And MIBR looks to put on a little pressure.
Heat with the op. Turns away for that one! Gets a quick scope onto Klaus.
Incredible shots coming out to make that flick happen. And Crew now wondering what to do. Their initiator utility down. They're going to have to use full walls and contact play to make these next situations happen.
Alarm bot not damaged. As we have great delay from Maurice with that poison orb into the B doors. Pretty much the same standard setup that Melzer's been doing when he was playing that Viper on the defense. And Crew decides to go in with a Reckoning. High Tide also to split up the site. But as they only hear the noise going out from that B link, Crew gets the easy plant.
You see a neat little molly there from Melzer to the top of the ceiling that actually denied B link. Maurice and the team start to push in. Here comes Seekers, Vansili.
Spraying behind the Seekers too. One connects onto Davies. Maurice is just around the corner, waiting for this timing, but he's low on HP. Only at one stingman on the ground.
Oh, he's stuck on.
The barrel of the gun is sticking out of this Viper. Just waiting for it. Finally does so.
Gotta get out.
Pit is about to come down. Only two alive here for the attack. Another cove for the defuse. Heat hits the shot onto Kesset, and JZZ flits in. MIBR get the defuse and a lead by 2.
Cove party. We got him coming out of MIBR here twice now on B, and that's kind of ridiculous. Marie's patience. I think any of us would have shot the first time we saw a barrel, but it was not happening. 1 HP, still makes it out alive after being the forward-most person during that retake. Absolutely incredible thought process for MIBR, the way they're playing around these situations. It's no wonder Crew's having so much trouble keeping a string of rounds going. We see again 17-18 back and forth, and a low buy again for Crew.
Heat in a different spot. Sprays coming in through the doors, and a nice swing by Melzer.
That's Nag's weapon.
Toxins going
It's right there.
Seekers in on the attack, stopped by an alarm bot and Nano Swarm. Reactive is MIBR putting down the pit. But this position coming out here from JZZ is huge at control. RGL's gonna hear all of this to start things off.
Stuck in the back hall.
Slightly cleared, but Melzer still does the run and gun. The drive-by. And JZZ gets popped.
Spike planted.
Cove is there. I don't think it protects against the 5 though. It's going to be quickly cleared. This is obviously the attacking Cove. A little defuse from Maurice as they start to put the pressure on to Crew, but it still looks like Crew has this advantage.
Thankfully, Maurice still has a wall up as a toxic screen. Cove still available on the defense. Now he gets dropped by RGL. Back once again to halfway. Maurice at least got it halfway. The battle to come out. FRC in the back of the 2v1.
Remaining.
And he's looking for that clutch.
The wall? Wait a minute! What is this?
Oh, my genius
And a 4K.
And a 4K. Mibr is calling upon the gods. It might just be themselves right now, but there is some extra gusto coming from these guys. Holy moly, for this to actually be their win. Like I said, the cove gets broken,
insane.
that's fine, but still, this wall play, whether or not it was told it would last long enough and to just hold it, they commit. Mibr has been together on each one of these takes. They are not disjointed at all. It looks so drilled.
Red Bull, Clutch, and FRZ. Those 2 kills that he's gotten in that pillar was pretty much what Maurice did earlier on, too.
Just bringing the fight to Crew. Honestly, they're not wasting any time. They're not giving Crew or saying, will Crew push us? You know, are we going to have to defuse and wait for Crew to make a mistake? No, Mibr is forcing these mistakes. They're defusing and then swinging 2 people wide. One will go down, but they get the trade. They're just looking to dwindle the numbers because they know with their controller setup, the double controller, it's really hard to stop a defuse on B site.
What I really like what Mibr is doing here for the retakes is really waiting to use that cove once they've cleared out at least the pulse plant utilities.
Yeah.
Coming in, tapping a spike, making sure that the nanoswarms are broken, that the walls are being put up, everybody's reloading, and when it comes down to the full defuse, then it's just gonna be guns. And you already have that bubble, that shield coming out from the cove.
Yeah.
That's gonna guarantee at least that halfway plant. That makes it difficult for Crew to really hold down on a long-range pulse plant, so they gotta figure something out on their attack for these pulse plants for Crew. Because at least the first steps to get into the site are always very clean.
I think this could be one of the few lockdowns we see from Crew coming out of here. Nags does have it. It's going to be answered by another lockdown.
Oh, yeah, no.
Good thing I was looking at the players and their utility. Like I said, Mibr is bringing it to Crew like every instance in their face. Holy moly, what a start to this round. Spike's still down here, and it probably would be if anybody had it with that kind of start. Melzer could have a big play. It's the swing of the round, but we're not seeing FRZ take his eyes off of B long.
Toxins going up.
Happy to give that up is Maurice after the snake bite on the ground. I mean, they still have that lockdown for the retake, a reckoning too. Not using any of this for Mibr, though, will give him a lot more comfort should they face map and series point with this advantage that they currently have.
And Mibr, Crew has found a fight at this B link almost every round. That's how Nags got his gun last round when they were kind of on a hero buy with 3 Vandals and 2 Sheriffs. So they go to find the 1v1. They try to pick off Mibr numbers. These firefights are not going in Crew's favor, though. Here's the lockdown we're going to see pushing out of sight. It will prepare Mibr for the retake and Crew for the post plan.
And with this early lockdown, might not even need a reckoning to retake the site.
That's pretty. I like that.
Tanner Metro like to say a nice little Venn diagram. But the plant still comes in for Crew for the post plant. There is that reckoning. Footsteps now being heard, but Melzer answers with 2 flying up in the air. It's just Melzer who gets hit by the reckoning. GZZ capitalizes on the kill, gets to the fuse. And Mibr are now at map and series point.
Crew are getting into these post plants without everybody there. They don't have all the utility that they're getting hit from Mibr. Like we said, these comps will do the same. And if you have more agents, you're obviously going to be able to out-util, out-flash, and create the angles with your dual controllers. Looking straight up, getting shot from straight ahead. Mibr clotheslining Crew on these post-plant retakes. Low buy for a possible last round, man, silly.
Yeah.
Or low buy, low armor.
I always like these silver linings, though. So the silver lining for Crew is that all those ults that we talked about on that previous round for Mibr have been used for that retake. So an opportunity to swing it back. Your DB's one away, a plant to allow a reckoning to happen, to swing it back for Crew's attempt of a comeback. Picks up the orb instead to start the reckoning, and he somehow lands that shot onto Klaus.
Going to be that quiet before the storm. Still 5v4, right? Them Crew loses one. Mibr now with a full retake to have happen, but that's the price Crew pays to get back into this site.
with the Trailblazer that clears out towards the shop. No late lurks. Knowing that the hold is inside the site or long range for Crew. They want to stay inside the site this time around.
2v2.
Operator in hands of Heat. Cove and High Tide once again available. Off shot missed. RGL onto the defuse. It gets instantly broken on that bubble. So no halfway point. Heat now picking up a rifle. High Tide to come out, but there's almost no time left here on this defuse. One has to protect, but it's not gonna work out. Crew stays alive to fight another round.
Last player standing.
And it's kind of going through the motions of the same thing that haven't been working. You know, they almost just have to beat their head against this MIBR wall to make the strat work, come out with the firepower, because even if at this point Crew does use great utility, Maurice is like, here's a 4K. I'll deliver you more multi-kills. Or
we've seen them less at least, right?
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So Crew, still there, still within it to bring this to OT on our final map. 3 chances to do it for MIBR, or for Crew rather. And MIBR 1 round to take this. They go back to this B play, hoping to find maybe that Killjoy utility and take it out, but that Killjoy utility is not used here for the mostly save round from MIBR.
Exactly, you got nothing. Just a shorty.
The shorty.
It's not even up. Maybe even trying to run through the smoke. It's being watched though by Kesnet. For the rest though, 2 rifles were being purchased by RGL and JZZ. Might not even want to use the Seekers here. The idea was try to get a gamble stack towards the A site and lay waste to exchanges that they can. But now it's Maurice and Heat out with frenzies, clearing the back of the site.
Self-blind.
Cove still once again available by RGL. Could throw it in right now. But Melzer is still alive. Still gets the snakebite lineups down onto this B site, and we're just spraying across, looking really good for Crew in the end. Round's gonna come in. It's gonna be 12-10. As no rifles actually will be saved at Thrall, but it's okay. They're hero rifles that we've gotten. Basically just bought them low to the same economy as everybody else from RBR.
Yeah.
Still looking good.
They take the guessing out of the game. I think that's the first time we've seen Crew actually go through the site to plant at what is considered one of the default spots. Much easier to spam, much easier to shoot. And they had great cover on the Cove used to plant that. They kept getting into the middle of the site and trying to get out fast. Committing fully to the site there and allowing themselves to set up a better post plant paid off big time. And we have an answer now. Kesnet starting to come back. 24-16 to Mariza's 24-12. It's a heck of a battle at the top of the scoreboard, and still we got rounds to go.
Blade Storm as it misses across. Kesnet still trying to updraft as Heat falls back. And a stalemate to come through. Just some damage being done, but topped off is Heat thanks to JZZ.
Bit of a reset now for MIBR. They get back into position. Crew still with the idea to retake on this. You see, it is Nags hanging back to keep that turret active just within range. So the team wants to stay here with that flank watch. Ooh,
and all 5 players of Crew outside here towards A main. Just want to try to potentially get a pit down for a plant.
Turret going down in mid alerts Crew that, you know, there are less numbers in sight. Quick Viper's pit goes down.
I like this. The save from Davies as we cycled the spike for Klaus, who allows the Seekers to come up. And here comes a triple flank off Seekers on the defense though from MIBR. The first contact, but it's still Crew fighting back. You're saving for MIBR. It's all gonna come down to the last round of regulation.
Crew, I think they've hit B like so many rounds in a row. Finally switch it up and take a patient A hit, in which Crew, MIBR was ready for to start this round off. They were very ready. And then once they started to disperse, the push came mid. As soon as Nag's turret went down, Crew played the numbers game.
Flawless.
And look at that, even a flawless, no weapon saved for MIBR. And that swing moment that we talked about, all of the ults that were used by MIBR to put them at 12. Now it's actually an opportunity for Crew from the rounds that they won, stacking up ultimates that they were building themselves. And now MIBR potentially with nothing left.
Well, one of the saving graces of actually, I mean, it feels bad, but having a team destroy you in rounds of 4Ks, 3Ks, 2Ks is those those weren't played to your maximum potential.
Yeah.
You're getting caught in situations that you know you should get caught in.
Yep.
You can prevent 3Ks and 4Ks from happening with a little more patience and take. So I think the mentality here for Crew was, hey, that's some extraordinary stuff that's actually happening. We can still play this game. We can still win. It's nothing that should be getting them down. And I think that mentality now persevering for Crew, and they've really been able to come out on top of their 1v1s here. 15 seconds left in MIBR's timeout now, Van Silly, because they're wondering if they're going to be able to close this out before OT now.
Tenacity, resiliency.
Yeah.
The name of the game for Crew. As they're one round away of bringing this third map of the series into overtime, which was potentially a snooze fest from the first map of how it was looking for MIBR's dominance. We got a doozy of a series after all. And with the weapons that you have, the money that you have left from MIBR,
yeah,
it's such a broken buy. Thankfully, you're on defense. You can play the long range with these Guardians. But Crew, we're also not too far away from ults to try to gain space into maps. Or into the map, rather.
Yeah. You get that Reckoning, clears out exactly what you've been liking it be in that plant. Double flank watch. I'd say it looks like a full commitment with that utility placed down behind Crew right now. MIBR, they do hold for a long time, and I think Crew's been starting to play off that.
Reckoning now initiated as Davies picked up the orb earlier on. So the gamble that you had to get this Viper's Pit into the A site is going to be wasted for the retake attempt for MIBR. Plat now comes down. Trailers are out to allow Heat to gain some space, hopefully catch one off guard. But it's now time for Crew to play the post plan. One did get caught off guard on the rotate back towards the top B, and that is going to be Davies. Nanoswarm then on to the top. Delaying even more. More snake fights still available as the poison orb comes up.
They have to fight this. They have to get out there.
And it starts with a flash in the back of the pillar. MIBR is definitely pushing forward. The long-range ADSing RGL took a while for these hits, but it's looking good for the overtime until this happens. But yes, we do get the kills. We are going into overtime.
What a round. The little changes from Crew every time. And setting up to take, or sorry, from MIBR and setting up to take down Crew. Oh no, they have switched, so now I'm getting confused in teams. But looking at how Crew won that one, I think, as I said, you see Viper on the other side of the map almost the entire time. It wasn't MIBR rotating very hard. It was always a numbers game for Crew. They hit B again, and it was still a slow rotation from the Viper on the side of MIBR. So you're just not getting the numbers you need, and Crew effectively on a run right now. 4 in a row here, bringing it into overtime, Vansily.
So for MIBR fans, now it's time for the Brazilian team to bring that tenacity up, because losing that many rounds going into overtime now, it's got to hurt the players. As MIBR now are on the attack. A change of pace to try to get some early B control. Countered back by a high tide.
Yeah, that was real quick reaction.
And a cascade, sorry, but Heat still gets the opener onto Nagzet. Playing in front of that utility.
You almost expect that to be known, right? You want to push them to a certain area, and then Nag's just not ready for that quick peek. What a shot to start off this. So that utility, they will have to, again, keep one in A. Melzer stays a little bit further back now, and they're expecting the B hit to come in. The gamble for Crew on the wrong side of the map here, and MIBR should have a pretty good plan.
You have no choice.
Yeah.
Look at that positioning left behind by the Killjoy, right? It's going to be an attempt once again for Crew for a retake, but this time at a player disadvantage. A free plant to come in
30 seconds left.
It's not known yet by MIBR. Still going to use a bit of that utility to clear out towards that site. Flash is close. Dash in.
I'm getting some nightmares, Vans. I see Marie's on a flank here. Kind of at art, not a flank yet, but it could be.
10 seconds left. We haven't planted yet, but MIBR still gets a couple of kills. Davies fights back. Somehow there's 7 seconds left, and we haven't got the plant.
Plant time. There's time.
Running in. Oh, the off shot missed.
They got it. They got it.
Kessin now looking for a play.
Planted.
A 2 versus 1. He only has the up and a Blade Storm now. He gets activated as he gets a 4 4K into the round, and MIBR are back in the lead.
MIBR pulling out the
Switching
4Ks once again. I said, oh, it probably won't happen right now. They do. They find a way. It's with the Blade Storm, an overtime Blade Storm, which you know means Kesnet was doing overtime in that round. Oh, my word.
Yeah, but stopped by Heat from that plant. All heroic plays done by this player right here.
Look at that. Look at the hype. They are so ready.
What was that, Riv? A 4K.
A 4K again. What a match of multi-kills here from the side of MIBR. Crew, they're staving off that firepower, possibly for one more here. He pushed up and he starts it off on Kesnet.
One of the rare moments that are playing behind that pillar. Gets that kill, dashes away, and an early purrs advantage for MIBR.
Toxin screen down.
See those high tide heads. A quick clear just for the forward position. So they get an idea. If nobody's playing in that position, they can expect to see a few more on site towards the angles in sight that they need to be looking. B-Link really controls that push through mid. Pulling out Killjoy utility.
MIBR actually want to fight out towards the A main so that the pulse plant cannot happen for Crew. One of their winning conditions on how they've been stringing back these rounds on their attack. So taking that position towards the orb, fighting back in that area if they forfeit on an A plant, it works out.
Double clear on B-Link here for Crew. That's where they try to find their first 1v1. And it's actually long A, like you said, Vansili.
So Melzer is trying to rotate back to play that pulse plant and get stopped right away by FRZ. Things are looking good for MIBR right now as Crew now has to force in for a plant. Maurice gets picked off though. They know there's still a player playing somewhere towards A main. As the plant comes down, Davies has to win this one, but he also gets denied.
4v2.
Two-player disadvantage for Crew. Forced to play inside of that site. So much utility available for MIBR, and only one left to go. Cloud's trying to do their heroic play, but it's not gonna work out. MIBR comes in for the defuse, they fight back, and they win this series.
In a really strong fashion individually, Vansili. Obviously, the team comes together to get the W, but you could look at every player here on MIBR for a standout moment, and mostly at that third map. Come time at the last hour when they needed it. Really great play around, and Crew as well, putting up that fight, finding their way back into the game. It was a bit of the top of the scoreboard fight, right, for a lot of this, and both teams trying to figure each other out. But it was cool to end on Pearl here with the same comps and see who could get that mirror to work better.
And you saw at least when we had the shots of the players all standing up, stretching out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a long game, a long series for these two teams. What started very one-sided, even this third map, Mimi was saying at the desk, like, yeah, it's a close game, but I wish it was a little bit closer in a sense that it could have gone more back and forth.
Yep.
And we definitely had that, the delivery. So Mimi got that wish that she wanted, and we had a banger to end the second half and even the overtime for this victory for MIBR.
I mean, you see how hard the fight was. Kesnet has the most frags at 27 and 18 in the server, right? Maurice at 24 and 15. So it was a bloody battle between these two teams. That's what we expected.
Yeah. And Kesnet
Definitely expected the back and forth.
You mentioned that the 27 kills that he's gotten thanks to the overtime here on the third map, but the performance that he was able to put on that second map too.
Oh my
Lotus,
gosh.
right?
Yeah, while being a little quiet on the first one.
And quiet last week. It wasn't all about him. It was more about Davies, and he definitely came into this one and really put Crew on his shoulders this time. The Kesnet that we know.
Yeah, really, Davies had some amazing shots coming in here. MIBR takes the win, and I honestly, the desk called him out at the beginning of the day. He's on your screen now. He had such an effect from game 1 to game 3. I think it's very easy to think of Maurice and the multi-kills in 3, but that operator was coming out the whole time from Heat. There was space being made, and he definitely cooked up the competition today with the MIBR squad.
Yeah, and history continues to be written, right? Furia, the first team to beat Crew last week.
Yeah, they bleed.
The first Brazilian team to beat Crew last week, and now MIBR continues that story, being that second team, and now Crew isn't as unstoppable anymore in the Americas region.
Very true. With that wound, they go back. see what they can fix about it. And yeah, I want to know what Marie spilled on his mouse pad now. What was that special?
Some voodoo magic.
Some
for
voodoo
sure.
magic in there. Oh my God. After that pause, it was just up and away, man. So there was no stopping after that. You can even see RGL, yeah, pat on the back for Maurice there. What a series coming out of him.
Yeah, what was definitely important out there was that tenacity that Crew did bring out on that third map, and it was then finally MIBR that was able to do the same thing now and even win this in overtime. And it's now time to look at the MVPs. I mean, we got Heat, Cheesy Z, Maurice. Really,
you know, there was the portion when I was like, we should call JZZ. Jeez, we look at Heat's first games. This is a tough one. Honestly, I feel like everybody had an MVP for each game.
Yeah.
But I might go with Heat again. The operator was still the whole time. This is a tough one. I'm leaving it up to you guys. I say nothing.
Scan the QR code to make sure that you vote. And with that, stick around though, because after the break, we're also going to have a winner's interview and a test to all break that down. And it's time for us to cool down. Happy Easter, everybody.
Came through with it again. They know that I got spirit with a pen. Don't know why they try to compete when they know that in victory it's never gonna end. Them man are weak, that's why they could never speak. They ain't like me, I take it to the peak. Different type of steeds that I breed. Wheel up on the mic, they won't get one of these. Please, I don't wanna hear no talk from them. I don't wanna see nothing at all from them. They can't do it like me. So all I wanna see really is a round of applause from them. Vibes in the air, we caused it again. Life isn't fair, but we rode it again. All of my teams being ready for the war, there's no warning for them.
Welcome back, everyone, to the VCT Americas, where we are ready for the Verizon post-match interview. Standing here with Maurice. Wow. Maurice, congratulations. What an epic series that was. I'm sure maybe it was a little bit stressful for you, but we as viewers certainly enjoyed it. There's so much to talk about, but let's just kick it out and start with Lotus. Lotus was such a back and forth map, and at the end we saw how close the scoreline was, 13-11. With your composition with double controller, how difficult was it to go up against the Gecko lineup?
I think we're pretty confident in our composition. The best maps we play, like we played that composition. So we have a really good read on the game. We can play more split, like 3-1-1 on the map. So we have a lot of good reads in the attacking side. I think we did like 9 rounds attacking, so like that's a lot. The map's a little bit attack-sided, but we managed to like read really easy in the attack because Gecko like isn't really a strong agent to hold the side. I don't know if you get it. He kind of needs to play retake. So that's really hard. Like if we are calmer than them, playing a little bit better than them, we can win the after plants. So we were fine. I think that's mostly it. And defending, it's kind of hard because they have a lot of utility. Gecko utility comes back in like 10 seconds, so they kind of have all the map to them. So it's really hard. But yeah, we managed to get a little 4 points, so we're fine.
After a chaotic second map, we headed into map number 3 on Pearl. You secured a bit of an early lead, and then it started to turn really back and forth. The game itself, there were so many multi-kills coming out from both your team as well as crew. Walk us through what it's like as an in-game leader when that is happening.
Well, it's more like it's very emotional in the game because both teams had pretty similar game plan to the game. Most teams are playing like loud comp right now and understanding that you can't really hold the sites. Like the same thing I said on Lotus, but it's a little bit, it's actually only that in Pearl mostly. So, I mean, it's the same thing. We have to be really calm on the retakes and the after plants. And like, I don't know, I just felt the game a lot, and I'm really grateful from my team stepped up a lot and called a lot with me. So I didn't have to focus too much on the macro game and could play my game better. So it props like mainly to RGL playing Harbor and helping a lot with getting space on the map in the XX. He helped a lot in the reads as well. So that's why I kind of could step up and play a little bit better than the other 2 maps.
No, certainly, you were fragging off the board, and that sort of support must be so helpful as the IGL. And speaking of support, on that second half, when the scoreline was getting super close, we saw Mibr call 2 timeouts. Yes. What was Bazooka talking to you guys about during those timeouts?
We were planning to play more on the setups we played when we won the rounds. So it was working really well, and we tried to adapt some stuff, and actually didn't work too much because the stuff we had planned and we practiced were working really well. So also too emotional to break their timing on the game, and yeah, there was mostly it. I think it helped a lot that he didn't need to pause in the first half, so we could like stop and reset 2 times. And here Bazooka saying he's always grateful, like guys are world champion, you know.
Absolutely, and I feel like it's just been amazing to see Mibr's development, especially coming from last week. You went up against second best team in the world and still had such a close series. In fact, in the interview with Sadak, he was saying he was panicking quite a few times. With last week's games and today's games, overall, how are you feeling about the team and how you guys are gelling together and coming out in VCT Americas?
Well, I feel really confident in my team. We're having really close games, but I think it's because we have a new players on the team. We're still finding how to play on the match. It's different, like it's always different. So we're feeling each other, going a little bit to this side, and then we actually saw the loud VOD. So we see that we are getting to the point where we want to play in the tournaments. So we're like, okay, we're getting there. So we are a little bit more confident to this match, and everyone is just helping each other so much to be in the same feeling in the game. So I think we're getting there. It's a long tournament, so we're kind of going game by game, and we're confident that we can do great matches.
Amazing. That growing synergy is absolutely beautiful to see. Thank you so much for taking the time for this interview, Maurice. For now, with the wrap of that second match, we are going to head back to the analyst desk with Golden Boy.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Smix, and always a pleasure to hear from the players in MIBR, most notably Marie's there, and actually a great opportunity for us to really shine a light on him because good head on his shoulders. We learned a lot from him in that interview, but on top of which, played some damn good Valorant today, which you got to be happy about.
Yeah, you really do. And he gave credit to the Harbor on his team to give him that space on that last map. His early round lurk at long where he punished Kesnet with the op, got 3 more that round, and then that spawn push round. Those are 2 huge swing rounds he had this game. And then all that post-plant util coming on the B site. Hats off performance to him.
Yeah, and also in the retakes, consistently finding value, pressuring forward so his Harbor could find the time to get those diffuses through. It was a really impressive map out of Mariz.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, if that is the level of play that we're going to be seeing more from MIBR, especially in those last few rounds, right? Like, I'm okay with that. I mean, honestly, even in this matchup too, Mimi, like, there were a lot of retakes from MIBR, but I'm struggling to think, and maybe you could shine a light on this, was it because MIBR did such an exquisite job retaking the possession of the site, or was it maybe Crew giving them a little too much space?
Bit of column A, bit of column B. When you're playing these double controller compositions on this map, it oftentimes is that your composition kind of thrives in the retake. You have a lot of utility to block sight, and your Harbor can put down that cove while your teammates fight forward. And I think MIBR did a really good job of doing so, particularly when they went towards the B site. We get to see one of those rare kind of retakes that they ended up being able to win out towards A.
A
They
site
had
does
a good
exist.
idea of things. Yeah, rarely. Occasionally it does exist. But they had an almost 60% win rate on that defensive side of being able to get those retakes on through. But also, at the same time for Crew, their retakes their post plants towards B-Long, I think had some gaps. A lot of times it felt like they were over-reliant on holding back and relying on spam and just the Viper mollies to be able to win on out. And a lot of rounds, that utility was not enough, and MIBR was able to get the stick through. It was rounds like this one that kind of made that comeback happen for MIBR.
I mean, I do have to give credit, though. That is an insane cove where only a tiny portion is available to
and
be
they
get
save
shot
it
at.
for so long, too,
Yeah.
right? That Viper roll first, waste the utility, then use the cove. It's so good.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think they gave them too much space, particularly that A site plant where they're all in A main against this Harbor comp retake. They just had nothing for the spike. So kind of let a couple of those rounds slip away. And honestly, MIBR ended up stealing the map because of it. A couple of those heroic late rounds, those retakes, that's pretty much half their rounds.
You know, honestly, if you're the coach and you're the crew management, you're kind of looking at this and you're like, okay, there's some gaps to fill. But you are happy, I think, with how today went. Because genuinely speaking, despite the fact that they still lost, it was a strong performance from Crew. Much more, Mimi, than what we were giving them credit for going into it, I think.
Yeah, despite the loss in the series, I feel better about Crew after today than I did going into this series. I think they showed us some really cool ideas. The attack side on their Gecko was good. The integration of Kesnet is continuing to work really well with him being enabled to play excellently. And I feel like they did a much better job at adapting than they did in week number 1.
I agree. They won their map pick in Ascent, which is the number one thing you would ask for.
Yep.
And then they went really deep in their map pool on Lotus and Pearl. And ultimately, they just couldn't get it across the line, right? But I do think there's some good takeaways here for Crew today.
Oh, 100%. You win your map pick. You go 13-11 on Lotus. Then you go to OT on Pearl. Not a bad showing for Crew at all. But before the break, though, we asked you guys to vote for the players of the match. And, of course, the results are in for MIBR. You guys went with Heat, who did we confirm that Heat had the dog in him? I'm not too sure, maybe.
Yes.
You just wanted a breakdown.
That just like
Any
made my brain
opportunity-
stall out for a second.
Any opportunity I could get to throw you off your game is really just what I
You
look
succeeded
for.
in that one. I would say, yes, he probably does have the dog in him. He was pretty good throughout that series. Sean, your thoughts on the matter?
He probably has the dog in him.
He probably has the dog.
He probably has
It's
the
likely.
dog in him. because
More likely than not.
in OT, being that cold to close out the series.
That's true.
He's got
That's
the
true.
dog.
Well, it's because of that dog that we end up seeing MIBR pick up the win. Let's take a look at the standings and where we are right now. Because that means that with that victory, MIBR get to shoot up a couple of places in the standings. They will be tied for third here, as we're all going to be seeing a couple 1-1s down the line. And we'll be seeing two other winless teams take to the stage tomorrow with 100 Thieves and Evil Geniuses. But man, Sean, this split, even though we're so early into it, and I mean, we have our Super Week around the corner as well, it's going to get really exciting.
I feel like this region is anyone's game. I feel like there's about 4 teams that can make an argument for like the first seed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Not even making the playoffs, just the first seed. I could not tell you who the top 6 teams are going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. And I think seeing all of these regions develop, like there was a story last year of Brazil being like a one-team region. And now every single Brazilian team we have in Americas here is competitive. Crew is starting to look like they're rising back towards that point they once had of being actually a top competitive team. It's just so close, and I can't wait to see how it goes.
I know, really across the board, across all the regions. Folks, if you're not waking up, eating, drinking, breathing Valorant, you're clearly doing it wrong. All right, because tomorrow we have plenty more matches to close out week 2. Well, actually, one more match, but you know what I'm saying. Week 2 closes out with one game. It's going to be an NA showdown. We have Evil Geniuses taking on 100 Thieves. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be an exciting game. We thank you all so much for tuning in today. Here are your Prime Gaming post-day highlights, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye. It's a beautiful Sunday, so why don't we go ahead and stay inside and watch some Valorant, shall we? 2 prolific teams in the Americas region square off here for the first time at the Riot Games Arena. NRG takes on Sentinels.
Flash forward, Crashy's dancing around the cloud, but the energy flood trying to funnel through. Victor getting one back. 3v3 here for the rest of the side. Artist spraying through as Victor's gotten the third.
Nice, Nick.
And Zekin getting 2 with the spam.
Okay, it's coming back.
Yeah, it's back. The flash is good though from Zekin. Sentinels once again wanting to fight with the paranoia. Oh my gosh, it's a disaster. It's a disaster. Sentinels gave a run at it, but NRG close out Lotus 13-10. We're gonna have to deal from Sentinels. Well, you still have another Molly out from Sasi, who's now dead. Zekin spotted, dropped.
Nice.
But Finesse continuing to frag, continuing to lead from the front. Sasi and Pacada outnumbered and outgunned. He's got it down to 1. Victor up top. The swing is there, and the shot is 2 from 10. The Red Bull clutch for Sentinels. But Thaj should find so much value. Spike down. Numbers-wise, and it just once again falls apart. A statement made from NRG. They looked rough last week, but they're back on top.
We have Crew Esports taking on MIBR, and this is gonna be awesome. Let's see what we end up getting from this. Has Crew developed? Have they found themselves within this week? Or will MIBR continue to show us why they are a team to fear here in the VCT Americas region?
There is that cue for MIBR to move in, but it's still going to be Crew that holds it on the side of the pulse plant. All that time in the world for them to breathe. Instead, for MIBR, just a solid anchor towards that A site. No, we're not clearing it! We're not clearing it as it gets 2 kills! And even a third one!
Crew with the comeback. Slicing and dicing through everybody's hopes and dreams on this one.
2 of his teammates are actually vulnerable by the snake bite on the ground. And MIBR's already rotated across. Crew looking good, at least for now.
Oof.
Still ensuing chaos. And he denies at least the halfway plant. All of MIBR comes in for the mountain and the crossbar is set up in the end. And MIBR will be able to move this into a 3rd map. And as Maurice made it through, gets all 3! Under rotation, a 2 versus 1! And Maurice somehow comes in clutch! Trying to shut down Maurice if you can. He's already holding an angle. Whew. That's 2 4K rounds now. FRC in the back of a 2v1! He's looking for that clutch. MIBR comes in for the defuse, they fight back, and they win this series.
A really strong fashion individually